Pooh Shiesty been sitting in jail for the last 3 days, bro.
Pooh Shiesty is back in the headlines, and this time it is because of a new federal raid that reportedly led to his father being taken into custody.
This probably got something to do with that little situation that took place between Gucci Mane and them allegedly.
Rumors immediately started flying, with some people trying to connect the situation to Gucci Mane. Now the big question is, what actually happened, and who was the real target of the operation? Let's break it down. The raid happened early in the morning on April 1, 2026. Federal agents showed up at a home on Beaver Valley Lane in Cordova, Tennessee, a quiet suburb just east of Memphis. According to local reporting, there was no soft approach. Neighbors say they were jolted awake by flashbangs and loud explosions. At around 6 a.m., agents breached the back door and moved through the property. Not long after, local news crews from Fox 13 Memphis, WREG, and Action News 5 arrived and captured federal agents moving in and out of the home for hours.
They heard the FBI and TBI screaming, basically going into the house, saying that this is the FBI.
That was the scene on the ground, the FBI and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation working the same operation. Flashbangs, loudspeakers, and a neighborhood with no idea what was about to happen on their block. One neighbor told reporters they heard a loud boom with no warning, then saw federal agents flood the street. The FBI later confirmed only one thing: they were there to execute a federal court-authorized search and arrest warrant. They did not release names, charges, or details about what exactly they were looking for. Agents searched the main house, the garage, and 4 vehicles, 1 inside the garage and 3 parked in the driveway. At one point, all 4 trunks were opened at the same time while agents photographed and tagged what was inside. They were methodical. Every vehicle was checked. Every trunk was examined. Then they continued searching the house. As the morning turned into the afternoon, reporters saw agents carry out computer monitors and brown paper evidence bags, suggesting they were collecting both digital and physical evidence. Despite all of that activity, no arrests were seen on camera while news crews were there. During the search, a black BMW pulled up to the house. A woman stepped out. Neighbors told reporters she lived at the property. She did not speak to the media and walked straight past the cameras.
Is worth mentioning. There was a vehicle that pulled into the driveway while those agents were here. A young woman got out. Neighbors told me that that woman actually lives here.
By the afternoon, agents had mostly cleared the scene. They appeared to have taken what they came for. The question everyone was asking was simple: whose house was it? Property records from the Shelby County Assessor's Office reportedly listed the home under the name Lantrell Williams. That created immediate confusion, because that name is associated with both Pooh Shiesty, born Lantrell Donnell Williams Jr., and his father, Lantrell D. Williams Sr., also known in some circles as Mob Boss. The county records did not specify junior or senior, which made the situation even murkier. That single name on the property record opened the door to endless speculation. Was it Pooh's house, his father's, or a family home connected to both? Since federal authorities gave no further explanation, the internet quickly started filling in the gaps on its own. As for the arrests, the raid itself did not produce any on-camera arrest that morning. But by April 2, 2026, inmate records and multiple social media accounts tracking the case reported that Lantrell D. Williams Sr., Pooh Shiesty's father, had been arrested and booked in Memphis after the raid. What is important here is this: there are no credible reports confirming that Pooh Shiesty himself was arrested, detained, or even present inside the house during the raid. Major outlets covering the story in real time did not report that he was taken into custody, and federal authorities did not release anything directly tying him to the warrant. That did not stop the speculation. Blogger Seti Nash began posting videos almost immediately after the raid. He claimed Pooh Shiesty had already been locked up for 3 days before the raid happened. He also claimed Big 30 was on the run and tried to connect the operation to an alleged situation involving Gucci Mane. That claim remains unverified. There is no official record confirming that Pooh Shiesty was already in jail before the raid. There is also no official confirmation supporting other details that went viral online during those first hours. To understand why this story spread so fast, it helps to remember Pooh Shiesty's legal status at the time. He returned from federal prison on October 6 or 7, 2025, after serving about 3 years of a 63-month sentence. His projected release had originally been April 2026, but he got out early due to credits and good behavior. Still, he was not fully free. He was placed on 3 years of supervised release, with conditions that included no new criminal conduct, no firearms, and no association with felons. In January 2026, there were also brief rumors that he had picked up a new charge because BOP records showed him at a re-entry management facility in Dallas with a projected release date of April 11, 2026. That situation was later understood to be part of standard release processing, not a new case.
I think they were saying he was still in the halfway house too, and that's his pop's house.
It's still confusing to me, even
They
like
say Pooh still in the halfway house? He been a hot damn.
it's been
Since October.
That confusion over whether he was fully home or still finishing halfway house-related release conditions added another layer to an already unclear situation. The house on Beaver Valley Lane appears to have been tied to the family, and his father was reportedly living there. Whatever the warrant was about, it was connected to that address and that name. What is confirmed is limited. His father was booked, and Pooh Shiesty had not been publicly charged or taken into custody in connection with the raid at the time this story was unfolding. That distinction matters, because it changes how this entire situation should be read. To understand why people immediately reacted the way they did, you have to look at Pooh Shiesty's history with the federal system. He was born on November 8, 1999, in Memphis, Tennessee. Reports say he had contact with law enforcement as a juvenile, including time in alternative school and juvenile detention, though public specifics from that period are limited. His adult legal history is much clearer. On July 7, 2020, he was a passenger in a vehicle from which shots were reportedly fired at a Memphis gas station. That incident later became relevant in a broader federal case. Then came the Florida case. On October 13, 2020, Pooh Shiesty was arrested in Bay Harbor Islands, Florida. Prosecutors alleged that he and others met with victims over what was supposed to be a marijuana and sneaker transaction, and that the meeting turned violent. According to the government, items were taken and gunfire followed, leaving 2 victims wounded. Federal prosecutors later cited evidence including Instagram posts that allegedly showed cash and a Louis Vuitton bag matching property connected to the case. He faced charges including armed robbery, aggravated assault with a firearm, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, and theft. Less than a year later, on June 9, 2021, he was arrested again in Miami-Dade, this time in connection with an incident in which a security guard was shot in the leg at King of Diamonds during Memorial Day weekend. He was held without bond, and that incident also became part of the broader federal case. Federal prosecutors in the Southern District of Florida eventually brought a multi-count indictment, including firearms and robbery-related charges. One of those counts carried extremely serious potential penalties. On January 4, 2022, Pooh Shiesty entered a plea to 1 count of conspiracy to possess firearms in furtherance of violent and drug trafficking crimes. In exchange, several other charges were dropped. His defense argued that he was not the shooter in the hotel-related incident and that his personal intention was limited, but the plea still left him facing federal time. On April 20, 2022, U.S. District Judge K. Michael Moore sentenced him to 63 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. Prosecutors had reportedly argued for a longer sentence. That is the legal background that shaped the public reaction to the April 2026 raid.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm surprised or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, this is obviously not the way to play it. Like, right now, street rap is in a desperate space.
Since his release in October 2025, people had been watching his every move. His return to music had attention. His career still had momentum. So when federal agents showed up at a house connected to his family, the reaction was immediate.
I was surprised to see Pooh play this like this, you know, especially with him being so fresh out. And and the success that he's been experiencing and the way that he was welcome home.
A lot of the frustration people expressed online came from that exact place. Fans believed Pooh Shiesty had a real opportunity to make a major run in 2026. The music still had traction. The audience was there. And then April 1st happened. Now we get to the biggest rumor attached to this story, the alleged Gucci Mane robbery narrative. The central question became, what were the feds really there for? Officially, nobody knows. The FBI did not explain the underlying investigation, identify the intended target of the warrant, or release any charging documents as of April 2, 2026. But online, a story had already been building for months. The rumor claimed that Pooh Shiesty, Big 30, and others confronted Gucci Mane, used firearms, took jewelry, and forced paperwork related to a release from 1017 records. That story spread heavily across social media in mid-January 2026 and continued circulating through podcasts, YouTube videos, and posts on X. It is critical to say this clearly: there has been no police report, no court filing, and no public statement from Gucci Mane confirming that this incident happened. Media personality Tasha K was among those who helped push the story into public discussion in January 2026, framing it as a forced contract signing situation. Later, in a widely discussed interview, Adam 22 said people in Memphis had told him the story was true, and he referenced claims involving Gucci's wedding ring and contract paperwork. But again, none of that amounted to official confirmation.
But I think like if I'm like speaking and going in the right direction, this probably got something to do with that little situation that took place between Gucci Mane and them allegedly.
That is why, when news of the raid broke, so many commentators immediately connected it to Gucci Mane. Not because it had been proven, but because it was already the loudest rumor attached to Pooh Shiesty's name at the time. Seti Nash pushed that theory even harder. In videos posted after the raid, he claimed the alleged Gucci incident had been captured on surveillance footage and that the raid was directly tied to that event. He also suggested that kidnapping and robbery charges could be coming.
Pooh Shiesty had one on him. Big 30 had one on him. Only person who really gonna escape from this is the Pops. The Pops did not want none of this to go on. Nigga like this, bro.
He mentions the father directly in that account. Says the Pops was present. Says the father wanted no part of what was happening in that room.
You can't tell your son nothing right now. Your son the number one right now. You gonna sign this?
That was Seti Nash's account of what allegedly happened. He described a room, named people, and claimed both Pooh Shiesty and Big 30 were present with weapons. Again, those claims remain unverified.
So I think like there was a rumor that like he got robbed for his wedding ring or something. He just put up a video holding up his wedding ring.
He also brought Pooh Shiesty's father into that alleged version of events, claiming the father was present and did not want involvement in what was happening. That, too, has not been confirmed by law enforcement.
If it's true, we all seen Gucci Mane. He done got married. He been enjoying his life in Miami.
As of that moment, there were no charging documents naming Gucci Mane, no federal press release linking the raid to any robbery allegation, and no official explanation that tied the two stories together. But because the rumor had already been circulating for months, people naturally connected the dots on their own. Part of the reason the rumor gained traction is because of real history between the people involved. Pooh Shiesty was once signed to Gucci Mane's 1017 records before his 2022 federal conviction. He later separated from the label. His cousin Big Scar, who was also connected to 1017, died in 2022. Some online narratives claim there was lingering tension over how Gucci handled that loss. Whether that tension had anything to do with later rumors remains unproven. Gucci Mane himself did not file a police report and did not publicly confirm that any robbery or forced signing incident took place. The only response people pointed to was an Instagram post showing his wedding ring still on his finger. He did not directly address the allegations.
In situations where you approach somebody and it's like in public and it's like big crowds of people around, you have to be aware of these things that everybody don't go by the street code.
That was Gucci's move, post the ring and let people interpret it however they wanted.
So you might have a beef with a street dude. He might have a manager with him. He might have a makeup stylist with him, or he might have an engineer with him that's not with that.
Commentators like Lil Woody framed that silence as part of who Gucci Mane is now. The argument was that the Gucci Mane of 2026 is not moving the same way he did years ago. He stays quieter, avoids public chaos, and does not rush to respond to every rumor. Still, his name ended up at the center of one of the biggest hip-hop stories of the moment. Another layer people pointed to was the idea that, if any confrontation did happen, someone in the room may not have been part of that world at all.
Had that perspective, to think Pooh would not handle it that way, you just like probably ain't tapped into the history of Pooh Shiesty. It's documentaries on Pooh Shiesty.
That theory goes like this: you might expect a street figure to stay silent, but if there was a manager, engineer, assistant, or some other civilian present, that person might respond very differently if they felt threatened.